the decks that he brought, he does have the one Mind Blast Priest. Just look at this list and try and wrap your head around it, guys. Just everybody scroll down, take a look. One Mind Blast, one Divine Hymn, 2 Stone Hills. What's going on here? There's a Free from Amber. Who knows? We're gonna see it, but not immediately, right? He didn't queue it up first.
No, he queued up the Gadgesan-less Miracle Rogue. And what I mean by that is there is Miracle Rogue with a Fungomancer, but no Gadgesan Auctioneer and 2 Sprints. A very interesting take on the deck.
Yeah, I guess he might think that he wants to use the low-cost spells in the early game rather than saving them for Auctioneer, so then he'll just prep out the Sprint, but it's a bold decision. It's something that I haven't seen too much. I've played against it once on ladder and just fatigued it pretty easily, but there might be some situations where Sprint is a little bit better than Auctioneer, but I feel like that won't be too common.
Yeah,
and the words are just saying, oh wow, that's a Coolio deck, and he's saying that completely genuine. Sayan's never been sarcastic in his life.
Oh wow, that's a Coolio deck. I like that. I'm gonna have to use that.
But yeah, these decks are very interesting coming out of OmegaZero. Whereas Tom, he went for the standard Tempo Mage, he went for that Recruit Warrior, that Fibonacci, and Frozen brought to prelims. The Mind Blast Priest with a bold decision apparently of 2 Mind Blasts, and Spell Hunter. So just some more standard stuff, just things that were pretty good in the last metagame. Not too big of a risk of going with some more unknown things.
Yeah, I will say that Spell Hunter has made a pretty popular resurgence in the metagame, and went from being, you know, kind of falling off the wayside once it's rotated out. But now that all the power levels of decks kind of got slightly weaker, I mean, we even saw it brought before the power level decks got slightly weaker. It's now in a very interesting spot, and I like to see what how well it continues to do. Is it just a phase in the metagame, or is it something that is going to stick around for a little bit? That's going to be interesting to see.
Were you saying about Spell Hunter or Auctioneer? Or
Spell Hunter.
Okay. Yeah, Spell Hunter seems like it's just got pretty decent matchups just due to how strong the Spellstone is. Some of your bad matchups, you're just able to just high roll by getting the double secret into the 4 wolves. And just, you see how many matchups are just won purely based on Rexar. Rexar is just so good at beating up on these control decks that just want to sit back and try and fatigue you.
Definitely. I like the setup here. Go ahead and play a Flanking Strike this turn, making sure that either the Wolf can trade in because OmegaZero into an awkward spot, or, you know, just setting up the other Flanking Strike. I mean, if you're OmegaZero right here, you just kind of have to use the sap and then commit all the Cold Bloods and push as much damage to his face as possible this turn.
I mean, when you have 2 saps, I really like using it here just because you just have another Vile Spine in hand. So I think for sure you want to go with sap and a Cold Blood, and then you're just faced with the hard decision if you want to save a Cold Blood to pair with that Vile Spine for next turn. But
you know,
man,
looks like Zero's going to do that. I'm going to save onto the second Blood and just push a bit of damage this turn.
I gotta say, if he found Sprint, it would probably be better than if he found Auctioneer, just because his hand just does not work well with Auctioneer right now. He doesn't have prep or those low-cost spells to play in the same turn, so the tech decision could pay off, but he needs to find it in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the reason why OmegaZero just Sprint in the deck instead of the Auctioneer, is because you do see OmegaZero playing cards like Questing Adventurer. And Questing Adventurer is one of those cards that commits the player to, you know, develop as many cards as possible, just kind of buff up that Questing Adventurer with the intent of just making it as large and as big as possible. Well, with that, Gadgesan Auctioneer, if you have no hand, is really useful, whereas the Sprint, you know, it keeps you going.
And he really just needs to find that Sprint to keep him going, or else he's going to be looking at his hand and just not doing much with it. Or even if there's no really good card that he could find to just activate this Vile Spine, you don't really just want to use the Cold Blood to do it, or this phase 4-2 here.
Yeah, it seems like the...
But he decides he has to do it, push the damage.
It's kind of awkward, but, you know, so as the sap, still but maybe a minion can stick. We can see by the hands that Tom is not going to let any minion stick. Tom probably has to read that the hand's very awkward from OmegaZero, especially since played.
This has just been such a weak opening from the Mirk Rogue. A lot of times you're looking for that 4-4 on curve, the Strider into a draw mechanic to start just piling those things on the board, because Hunter does not deal with that well. It's part of the reason why I feel like Mirk Rogue would be pretty favored in this matchup. Just if you just jam those 4-4s, Hunter has no, you know, real board clear to deal with them. Other like just maybe unleash into explosive, but then a lot of times that's not going to be clearing all of them. And oh, the prep off the top.
Gonna have to hope the top deck top deck a sprint. I would say top deck an auctioneer, but that's not even the deck. I mean, it's gonna have to be sprint. We prep sprint, hopefully draw into just, you know, any kind of minion, but building beasts every turn. And that's been, you know, that's been the name of the tale, just building beasts.
I know a lot of people have gotten some good practice on it. So if you're doing it wrong, you don't have much of an excuse. Building beast comes up a whole lot, and that is the sprint, which I'm so glad it happened, just to keep this game interesting, because he needed to find this turn to stay in the game, or else just Tom would just find enough pressure. That Rogue really does not come back on board now that he's used 2 saps and a Vile Spine. The only real comeback mechanic now is just that second Vile Spine.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the questing adventure come out here, the backstab, dagger swing, and OmegaZero is just gonna, you know, and pray that Tom has literally no answer for this questing adventurer.
He just out of cards again. Sprint, draw 4, and then just still out of cards.
Still out of cards. I mean, Tom has a decent enough answer. The Hunter's Mark and the Unleash the Hounds, or the Hunter's Mark and the Eagle. I mean, just maybe even wants to build a beast to answer it. So many different ways Tom can go with this.
Yeah, I think you're in a situation where you probably want to preserve your health, right? Just because if you take the damage, you go down to 11, which means Leer Cold Blood plus the dagger would kill you. I know you'd have the taunt on the way, but still, it's something that you probably don't want to go too low.
Ooh.
Turns out this has Rush.
And
so
Echo.
That paired with the Mastiff ended up being a board clear and develop at the same time, which lines up pretty good. So OmegaZero had no potential. Actually, he did have potential lethal here. It'd need to be literally just Leroy Coldblood Abyss as the only out, because he's used 1 Coldblood and 1 Abyss. So Tom, knowing that, took his time and realized it would be incredibly unlikely if that was the situation.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to be a little... Those are the situations. But I mean...
this is going to be a hyena on board with an Unleash in the hand. And just... Does that kill him? That's going to be 2 damage per wolf. He has 3 from the bow.
How much damage can he get? He can go Unleash the Hounds, run each wolf in, get 2 extra damage.
It just goes up to 10 attack. Oh wait, that's not on math.
No, it goes up to
14. 14, so he's 1 off. But then he puts up the explosive and he wins. Right?
I believe so, Bob.
Yeah.
Doing our math correctly.
Math is hard, dude. This is 9:30 a.m. We haven't slept yet, but we are here. We are casting Hearthstone, and that's just lethal with Rockdalar, of course. I missed that.
Double crushing walls in the hand of Tom60229, but it's not going to matter. Tom doesn't need to crush some walls. He just needs to crush OmegaZero's face, and that's game number 1, going to Tom60229.
You ever crush walls?
I actually crushed walls early today on ladder. I crushed 2 Twilight Drakes in between a wall of spikes, and it never felt better.
Nice.
What's the best minion you've ever crushed?
I don't think I've ever even I've never even casted that card. I haven't had the honor, unfortunately. But man, first off, we saw ex-world champion Pavel play today, and he absolutely killed it, was able to go 2-0, and now we're seeing Tom60229 picking up that quick win with the Hunter there, able to piece together the lethal damage. I do have to say, though, that was a very weak draw from the Rogue. Then again, it was a little bit of a strange build, did not have that Auctioneer, had the Sprint instead, so wonder if that ended up being worse in that situation, just because when he did play Sprint, he did have low mana cost cards that Auctioneer would have been paired pretty good with.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just, you know, the opening hand was a little awkward. Typically, Valdori Striders, the Hench Clan Thugs, you don't really typically want the double Cold Blood. And we see there from Tom60229, just going to 3-keep the hand. I mean, it looks good. Secret, Animal Companion, Spellstone. I mean, that's a keeper, if I do say so myself.
That's a way to put on pressure for sure. Just you put them on the situation where if they don't have Deathbreaker, they take a lot of damage from that Spellstone. It's just a card that is too good not to keep, even in matchups where they do have the AoE answers for it. A lot of times you just hope that they don't have the answer in hand. And my experience, the way Hunter wins this is just getting Rexar and then getting those Lifesteal Beasts, because it's pretty hard to just straight up kill the Priest in most situations. But maybe that's more realistic than trying to out-heal it with Lifesteal. But overall, I feel like this matchup's pretty favored for the Priest.
I would say so as well. I mean, it's really hard to, you know, kind of make those beasts that kind of just heal out of range. Actually, see, I didn't even look at OmegaZero's list. Did you notice there's a Spirit Lash in the list? There's 2? Did you notice that? I didn't.
That's an odd choice. Just he's decided that he just wants more healing. Can't get enough of that.
Yeah, and just kind of that's one of the things that, you know, maybe the Hunter player has going for them. Tom60229 can, you know, just kind of put up as much pressure as possible with these Huffers. Maybe get it backed with a freezing trap. Unfortunately, we don't see a freezing trap, but, you know, this Hunter's Mark and a Candle Shot and a Hero Power, that's mana efficient, kills a Twilight Drake, puts you 6. Bob, I like that turn.
I like being aggressive because, you know, just thinking about how much lifesteal minions you would need to get in this matchup to live doesn't seem that realistic. So playing that beatdown strategy, hoping that he doesn't have Deathbreaker, might work out in the situation, just because we can see that he has not found it just yet. He does have Spirit Lash to maybe gain some HP and just survive a turn for the Psychic Stream, but still just a decent position to be in as the Hunter, especially with the kill command in hand.
Yeah, it's looking really good for on here. I mean, the most he can do is Spirit Lash just to try and gain 5 health. That's not the greatest. I mean, maybe even play that Twilight Acolyte just to neutralize the Huffer and put another minion on board, try and take a value trade. Thing. This is looking rough for OmegaZero here. Top 9, just as soon as the game got queued up, is almost ending the game as soon as possible.
Yeah, he can, you know, play the Twilight Acolyte on the Huffer, Spirit Lash to gain the maximum damage for next turn, or just gain the maximum life, that is. But he's going to want a Spirit Lash for sure, just to heal up. And now it's just a situation where he probably just wants to heal his face, so then he has the most HP for Psychic Scream.
Yeah, definitely has to live to Psychic Scream, but this damage on the back foot, I mean, 9 just from the board. 10 if you count the weapon, that puts him down to 12. That's 2 from the Hero Power, 5 from the command, down to 5. That is, what, 3 damage off lethal right now?
Yeah, I think you counted that right.
I'm trying to get better at math, so if I did math right.
And if I'm being completely honest, I just said that. I didn't count. Yeah, you did that right. You know?
Thanks, Bob.
Gotta put faith in your fellow caster. And OmegaZero needed that Divine Hymn off the top, and this is actually just a one of in the deck, so was not likely to find this thing.
Yeah, but he has to play Scream this turn. I mean, maybe he doesn't play Scream and goes for another play, but if he has to play Scream, he's just dead.
The only way he lives is doing the Divine Hymn, the Acolyte, and healing his face, right? He would be alive by
enough.
By a little bit.
By just barely enough. But I mean, he might have already committed to the Psychic Sphere play and kind of, I mean, he has to hope that Tom60229 doesn't have 3 damage in the hand. No, he's going to go for this play. I think this play's really safe.
Yeah, turns out Priest has Dustbreaker a lot less without Historian to find those extra copies sometimes. And just Tom put him in that position where he needed that Dustbreaker, or else he was just going to get absolutely just beat the crap out of. And that is just what we're seeing here. And Tracken can find potential lethal with Kill Command, and he did it. That's going to be Tom60229 picking up 2 quick wins on the back of this Hunter, getting that Spellstone, and just killing him.
I wonder if that was just lethal with Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah, I think he just needed 2 damage.
So, I mean,
guaranteed?
Yeah, was it guaranteed? Because it would have been 2...
Yeah, it was.
5... Oh, so he actually... Well, he would have needed the coin to do all that, wouldn't he have? So playing the tracking there was actually risky? Or was it...
I'm pretty sure. I think you're right that he had guaranteed lethal.
But it might have been one-off.
How are you supposed to know?
It's too early in the morning for me to do math.
He killed him. That's... Okay. Someone in chat said it was one-off. I believe you.
I believe you.
Chat is always right, by the way. Chat's never been wrong.
I have never been steered wrong by chat either.
Don't you know that phrase, rank 1 legend chat?
Yeah, I believe it. Pixar didn't happen. Alright, Tom already off to a blistering 2-0 pace. Is this going to be the first 3-0 we see of the day?
So what is his final deck? If there was anybody to get 3-0'd, I feel like it would be OmegaZero's a little bit different decks, just because it doesn't feel like they could, you know, find good matchups, but just against the field, or just even against the set of decks that he has to play against right now, just not looking too hot.
No, not looking too hot at all. And OmegaZero's last deck is the Mage. I don't know. I don't think Mage is that bad off in the matchup.
No, Mage is fine as long as you find Jaina. It's just, you have to find Jaina. The last time we saw this matchup, that just was the case where one person was able to find Death Knight and the other person couldn't find theirs, and that spells trouble.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than coming to the Death Knight party and not bringing your Death Knight with you.
I think you keep Rakdalar. Is that good? You curve out, you jam that thing, have a bunch of value, you push a lot of damage with it. It seems pretty good. Just keep it. Probably pitch the other things.
Yeah, it might be a keep. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's more important to find Rexar.
Yeah, Rexar and the Spellstone are very important. So just goes to show he's valuing those cards instead. And Tom's doing it. Secret, 3-drop, Spellstone. But OmegaZero has a pretty reasonable hand. He's got that Doomsayer to slow things down, the Gladius to deal with the weapon, and just, you know, oh, and the Jaina. All right.
Oh.
That's the situation you want to be in. This Mage hand is shaping up. No 3-0s today.
You think so? You don't think Tom's got this?
I think, you know, with the way the hands are right now,
is it a rat trap?
OmegaZero probably has a pretty good advantage. Just because the Glut Ooze swing is so big. Just Tom basically just loses a turn of just playing that weapon, pushing 3 damage that ultimately did nothing because he'll just gain that right back up.
You know, the funniest thing is we have these deck lists open, and we've looked at them, we scanned through them, we decided to, like, you know, just hover over them. But I did not realize that in Tom60229's Hunter, he actually had a rat trap.
Yeah, we've seen another player on stream play the rat trap, and it did pop, and it did kill his opponent.
Yeah, that was great.
The very first time I've ever seen rat trap pop. I've only seen it one other time, and it just did exactly what I expected to, which was just 2 mana do nothing. But this time it flipped over. It was a 6/6 that just killed him. So I really wonder what matchup they have that teched for. Like, what are they thinking of? What deck is playing 3 cards in a turn?
Maybe it is just Questrogue. I heard a lot of players say, it's pretty good against Questrogue.
Questrogue just got nerfed.
Yes, but Artie, you brought it. That's my only argument. But Artie, you brought it.
And I hope Artie loses with it.
Don't say that. Don't say that, Bob. Take it back.
Never.
Never.
I hope Artie wins, but I also hope he loses with Rogue.
So makes sense.
But yeah, Tom's gonna try and be just proactive as possible, play that Spellstone, try and beat down his opponent. But in this situation, OmegaZero just has pretty good answers. He's gonna be able to stall that game out with the Blizzard and just Doomsayer, just buying him an extra turn, exactly what you want to do in this situation. And Glut Ooze getting the value on 2 charges.
That's pretty rough, Gluttonous Ooze is just a very powerful card, especially against Hunter when they rely so heavily on getting multiple damage through with their Eagle Horn bow.
Unfazed by that.
Tom's
if I was him, I'd let out an audible oof, but he's just.
What's even chilling. More oof than that? When the Skulking Geist hits 3 cards in the hand. Oof.
That is I want to see it. Play it. Play it, OmegaZero. Please.
Please.
Don't coin the Azalina. I would consider that bad.
Or play the Tar Creeper. Just play the please just play the
I don't care about this Blizzard stopping 9 damage. Just somehow read his hand and know that you kill 3 things.
You killed 3 cards. No, don't hover over that. Guys, if we believe hard enough, it'll happen, Bob. Do you believe in Bob?
I feel like the Tar Creeper's pretty good here.
You're not believing hard enough, Bob. You're not believing hard enough. Yeah, no, the Tar Creeper's obviously safer and much more logistically correct play. But,
so I feel like the reason that a lot of people have opted for Azalina is to have chances against things like Rin, or just if you're ever finding yourself in a situation where you're just low on resources, to play that and copy it can be a way you win the matchup. It's also pretty good in the Mage Mirror that you could start to dump your cards and then copy what they have as a way to just outvalue them. So it's a card that can give you advantages in control matchups. It's part of the reason why it started seeing play in Odd Warrior, is just to have that chance against Rin to copy it and then just do the same thing that they were doing.
Yeah, most definitely. Although we were talking about Tom's OmegaZero had just a opening hand. Tom has put on a lot of pressure. I mean, Tom's just a little bit of damage away from actually ending this game, and there's not much that OmegaZero can do as of right now. But I mean, OmegaZero can just kind of clear up the board. But eventually, that hero power is going to get to him, and he's going to have to coin Jaina next turn just to try and stage off some of that damage. But obviously, coin Jaina is going to be absurdly powerful.
Yeah, Tom is hoping and praying for a Huffer because he's looking to kill his opponent here. He knows that Jaina is a big threat, so being able to put on as much pressure as possible is just huge here.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Leok is just the worst one. So now I think OmegaZero is going to be able to Jaina a little bit more comfortably, knowing that it's very unlikely that 16 damage burst is not going to be too realistic for Tom.
Yeah, not realistic at all. I can't really think of any combination to put him up that far ahead. But having the Deathstalker Rexar in hand, I mean, this game could go on for a little bit. It could become that Tom, goes into Rexar mode activate, and then starts building beasts. And maybe the beasts just get there.
You would need Charge Beast. You can't play for the value game at that point, just because there's too many things. Like, you heal up with the Water Elementals and then just jam Alana. And the only way Hunter really has to deal with that is Bloatbat and Poisonous, which I doubt Tom's going to go for here, even though he's offered the...
Here's the first combo.
I think you do just take it, just because the other options are that bad. But
yeah, the options pretty bad.
We're a little bit different.
Yeah, no.
I mean, a 3 mana 4/5 is just pretty good. Or he took something else for the 6 mana option. Oh, did he take the bloat bat? Oh no, he took the.
No, he took the Emerald Hive Queen and the Strangled Tiger. So it is a 6 mana 7/8 with stealth. 6 mana 7/8 with stealth. It's not too bad. Oh, there goes the arcane shot.
We didn't get to live the dream of it just killing 3 spells.
That would have been so great to see. Nothing's better than playing the Skulking Geist and looking at your opponent's hand and just seeing like half the cards gone, especially against Druid. You see that against Druid all the time, where they're holding on to Spellstones, they're holding on to Naturalize.
Yeah. Just, and I'm surprised that people still submitted Skulking Geist, because one of the big reasons that you played it in the deck was to kill things like Dark Pact, so they couldn't just run Dark Pact on curve. And with Dark Pact being nerfed, it was something to consider. Is it still worth running? And people just ultimately decided yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's also really good against Taunt Druid. Maybe more players expect Taunt Druid to be a more popular deck, since it didn't really lose anything from the nerfs that occurred. So maybe OmegaZero thought that popular of a deck, and that kind of hints to why his decks are built the way they are.
Yeah, Taunt Druid is actually one of the few decks that we haven't seen in this tournament. I feel like we're seeing so many different things, but scrolling through the decks, none of the 16 players opted for that Hadronox Taunt Druid.
Ooh, looking to even play out Dragon Collar. Oh. Huh, how many big spells? It's just 2?
One.
Or just 1?
Wow.
I was wrong.
I feel like I just really prioritize just playing for board. A lot of times you want to save that to make that full board of 5/5s, just because Hunter really has no way to deal with it outside of just Bloat Bat Poisonous, which is pretty unlikely to get. But he decided that if he continues to play for board here, that he just thinks he could kill his opponent. Also, it's just a situation where you have Voodoo Doll, you have Polymorph. Those kill the minions and make a water element at the same time. So you might just think that he doesn't need the extra value here.
Yeah, and it looks as if, Tom clear up some board and push the 7 damage face. Unfortunately for Tom, that does give OmegaZero a water element in the form of either Voodoo Doll or Polymorph, whichever one he decides to go with. But, I mean, maybe a couple more beasts, Tom might be able to get there. I don't see it, but you never know. A couple good beasts, and it's different.
It would just need to be a charger into a charger, but even in that situation, I'm not quite convinced that gets him there, just because he has the Gludus for the bow here. If that comes down, he will freeze the face and heal up with the water elemental. Hydra into charge. Ooh, did he take the Hydra? That is...
Oh my god, would that have been lethal? No, it would have been 1 mana off.
1 mana off, yeah.
But, I mean, you would even do it and just, hope you're not dead, and then build another Hydra board combination. I wonder if he did it. Looks like he went for the wrong Hydra. Not the Bittertide Hydra, but the Cave Hydra.
I'm really surprised that he didn't go for the Bittertide Hydra here, because that was the dream of just one of the ways you can potentially win, was going Hydra into Stone Tusk Boar. And he did get it, but did not choose those options. And even picking, the other option, I don't think he would have got there in this situation.
Just going to go ahead and push the damage face. I mean, this kind of does a similar amount, right? It's 3 off, so OmegaZero would be at 2 instead.
Oh yeah, he could have also been afraid of dying from the Hydra.
Yeah,
and
that
now
well
next turn he could have potentially found the Hydra, but now the Arcane Artificer, however you're supposed to pronounce that card, gonna be able to clean this game up. And that is going to be OmegaZero finding himself on the board, picking up a win, making sure Tom60229 doesn't make a fool of him. And just, he's got to keep winning with Control Mage. And that's going to be hard, because Tom60229 has both Priest, which I think does pretty well against it. And I'm not sure how the warrior would go. You do have Dead Man's Hand, so is that a matchup where you can play slow and don't pull out your minions and try and fatigue the mage? I don't think so. I feel like mage would actually probably be pretty heavily favored against the recruit warrior just because he has so much removal.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting how it pans out. You know, sometimes that warrior can just sneak in some damage early and then end the game with maybe a Grom plus a whirlwind effect. But I mean, sometimes maybe the minions down early and mage can't deal with it. But then again, I mean, they've got Voodoo Doll, they've got Polymorph, they've got Meteor. I don't really see any way
I agree.
Tom sticks anything.
All right, so that means that's probably going to mean it's really important for Tom60229 to get that win with the Priest. That seems like what he needs to do to win this series, just because that warrior just seems so unfavored against the mage the more we think about it.
Yeah, I've never actually played that matchup. I don't think there's any way that Tom just saves on to literally all his cards and then maybe just, you know, Dead Man's Hands as many cards as possible and tries to take the mage to fatigue. I mean, maybe that's a line of play that we're not seeing, but I don't think it is. And yeah, Tom's just going to go ahead and go for that Priest.
Can't blame him for that. Rather just play the deck that has the better matchup first, just because you don't want to get down on yourself and get too nervous if you do bring it to game 5.
Yeah, that's different mentalities that certain players have. Some players, they say, you know what, well, I guess this is LHS, so I know at least on Quest there was the idea that, you know, just play the worst matchup when you're already down. And yeah, definitely want to try and get this win coming out from Tom. So, any experience in this matchup? I mean, we saw earlier that the mage actually sneaked out the win, but I would typically say that it's Priest favored because, you know, Priest can kind of just put a lot of damage on the game as early as possible. But I mean, are we being too results oriented? Saying maybe the mage is better thought it was?
No, I mean, I think Priest is still just pretty heavily favored. The game that we saw, the Priest drew very poorly, couldn't find the Mind Blast that he needed. If he was able to find it, he would have been able to just go Alex into lethal at that point. But, you know, the Arcane Artificers are super important for gaining armor to try and get out of that range. But if they find themselves in a position where they can Alex and then Alex on the 15, a lot of times the mage will just die.
Yeah, Tom's got a little bit of pressure on and some draw going. OmegaZero's kind of got an awkward hand. I mean, OmegaZero can develop the Tar Creeper to try and stage off a little bit of this pressure. There's also the Witchwood Piper, you know, just kind of try and start thinning through the deck, trying to find some more options. And then Tom's got to follow up with Scale Worm value trading into either the Tar Creeper or the Dustbreaker, either the Tar Creeper or the Witchwood Piper. And there's also the Twilight Drake.
There is, and this is just a matchup where you really miss Ice Block so much. If you had that, you'd be able to let them pop you. You would Alex right back up to 15, and then they would have used all that burst, and you probably would just be absolutely chilling. But now things are so much scarier when you play mage.
Yeah, it's a little scary now. Most likely just going to go ahead and ping off, maybe play the Tar Creeper, try and stage off some of this damage. I don't think there's any real reason to play the Voodoo Doll, especially since, you know, Meteor is going to probably come down next turn. But this Scale Worm is going to allow Twilight Drake to push 4 damage.
Meteor is juicy.
Ooh, and the Jaina has been drawn. That's good for OmegaZero.
You know, right now it's an unfair game. It becomes a fair game once both players find that Death Knight. It's just the rules of Hearthstone right now.
Yeah, I mean, there is the one Mind Blast, other Shadow Visions, find the other Mind Blast, but not much going on from the hand of Tom. I mean, maybe just forced to, you know, local with the Shadow Visions, find the Mind Blast, and I guess tempo out a Dustbreaker, just, you know, putting the body on board, getting the damage in while he can.
I like it. He knows that he doesn't have Alex in hand, so maybe being able to squeak this damage in gets him low enough that if he finds that third Mind Blast, he could just kill his opponent out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely. The sneaky seek is the best one, especially the ones the opponent doesn't see coming. Those are my favorite in Hearthstone, when your opponent's like, oh, well, they'd have to have 3 Mind Blasts here, and they've got 20 cards left to deck, and then bam, you hit them with 3 Mind Blasts.
That's good stuff. Just the potential burst is absolutely crazy. Mind Blast just is one of those classic cards that's just too good to never see play. You know, a lot of Priest decks in the past didn't play it, but now with the Shadow Visions, being able to find the multiple copies of it, just that's the win condition that people decided to go with.
OmegaZero just respecting the Dustbreaker and its power, and yet again we have another game where it is just going to be a race of the hero powers. Both DKs are in the hand. OmegaZero is going to play his 1 turn later, but you know, I don't think he's really worried about that.
Not too worried at all. And I'm hanging in there. That might have been a yawn, but not too big, and that's important. And being able to find a second Psychic Scream, I feel like, is pretty important, just because now it might just be a situation, do you ever just Psychic Scream just 1 water elemental to get it off the board, just because you know that a lot of times Mage will have to ping off their own minion to make it, just because you might not be making any minions anytime soon.
This is the hardest part coming out from Tom's perspective. If Tom just plays any kind of minion, it's going to give more chance to water elementals from OmegaZero's side. But, you know, if he doesn't play anything, then how does he fit the pings in?
Yeah, I like this play from Tom, just removing that armor, knowing that even if he heals up, removing the armor is more important, just because you have access to that Alexstrasza when you find it to reduce his HP. And OmegaZero has found one of the copies of the Arcane Artificer's card that's super important in that matchup of trying to get out of range to make sure you don't die right after you get Alexstrasza.
Yeah, it's definitely an important key card in that matchup. I wouldn't be surprised, you know, just see Tom probably go ahead and Psychic Scream here. It's really hard to say what other plays there are.
I think you try and hold off another turn.
You think you can hold off another turn?
You're just not taking that much damage, and then it's like weird just because the Mage doesn't really want to develop into a board like this. And, you know, buying time is better for the Priest just because he needs to assemble more pieces with the Alexstrasza and the 2nd and 3rd Mind Blast.
That's fair enough. I mean, Tom60229 is probably going to need this Alexstrasza to try and rush the minions, even if he goes OmegaZero 30 health. At least OmegaZero's arm down for the time being. That way Alexstrasza does end up putting OmegaZero to 15, and then hopefully the last combination of cards can end the game for Tom.
I wonder what this matchup's percentage actually is, because it has seemed a little bit tough for the Priest the times that Jaina does come down on 9.
I feel like it's one of those matches where if Jaina comes down on 9, it's Mage favored. But what makes Priest overall favored is the fact that they don't always have Jaina on 9. We're just seeing 2 games in which Jaina was played on 9, but since I don't think that's the case for every single game, the games that Jaina's not anywhere near the top half of the deck, I think Priest just die. Just annihilate, yeah. So, I mean, what is, I mean, Tom's going to have to eventually Psychic Scream.
And I imagine this is the turn that you probably have to rip the first one. You're just staring down too much damage. Just 11 on the board is just something you can't take a hit of.
Yeah, especially with this much healing. Do you ever Power Word Shield on one of the targets just to kind of cycle through, or do you want to try and save that for weaving in pings?
I mean, I like playing the Power Word Shield just because if you find Alex, a lot of times they can't heal in that turn besides gaining the armor with the 1-drop, so I like cycling it because you do have 16 damage in hand just with 2 Mind Blasts.
Yeah, not only that, but also check counterspell there. Didn't want to just play the scream and then counterspell comes out. And
so what secret actually got put up here?
I believe it was.
Whoa.
Oh God.
So he's thinking that he could get healing from the priest with things like Divine Hymn, things like Holy Fire if he plays this Azalina.
Whoa, he's thinking about playing the Azalina for healing?
Yeah, I mean, that's just my best guess. There has been times, I've played Azalina and Warrior where you just copied against the priest, you get 2 copies of Divine Hymn, and they just concede immediately. But I feel like you're in a situation where you want to make sure you want to just get the armor from this one drop.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of like the water elements. I mean, why not? Just go ahead and play the water elements. Start making sure you've got that minion that deals. I mean, even trying to find more. But I definitely like playing the water elements this turn.
Yeah, it's just overall seemed like a pretty reasonable play. Getting that elemental on the board means that Alex coming down is a lot less strong.
And there we see Tom, just kind of clearing up every board that OmegaZero can make. They're both at pretty healthy life total as quickly as possible. But even if he does, OmegaZero's just kind of got the answer in the form of that Artificer.
And man, the absolute high roll would be Lich King into Death Grip, into stealing the Alexstrasza. That could just be lights out if that happens. But he got Army of the Dead, which just is not what you're looking for as mage. There's no real big minions to pull out in this matchup, or in pretty much any matchup.
Yeah, not too many minions. But you can see that the secret was explosive picked earlier. Tom definitely knew it could have been a secret that would a minion element. Wanted to make sure to play the North Star Cleric first, just to kind of guarantee that if it was Mirror Entity, it wouldn't be too bad.
So 4 Mind Blast Priest, 2 Mind Blasts, 16 damage, 3 Mind Blasts, 19, and 4 is 22. So still not just quite there yet. Even with the top deck, he's going to be a little bit off. So no real reason to heal out of OmegaZero. He's only seen 1 Shadow Vision, so he knows that he can't die even if he doesn't heal this turn.
Yeah, that's always kind of worrisome, right? I mean, I guess he could go ask Lena and see if he dies.
You think that's smart?
No, I don't think that's smart at all, but it looked... So I wanted to say it.
That's fair.
I mean, you ever seen like a funny play and you're like...
But I do like gaining the armor here. Just lines up pretty well. You're then in a situation where you could Alana next turn, make some big dudes that need that Psychic Scream.
And that Death Coil is a great pickup on Zero's part. If you didn't have enough healing in the past, that Death Coil is definitely going to give him more.
And Mage is making Priest look so bad in these games.
Yeah.
Just being able to stay just out of range every single turn, forcing the Priest to just play reactively, knowing that they only have the Psychic Scream to deal with it. And Tom's got to be worried. If he loses this matchup, it's then going to be the Control Mage versus the Recruit Warrior, and I just can't even figure out a way that Recruit Warrior wins that. Just Major need to brick on all of their spot removals with Polymorph, Meteor, and Voodoo, and then also don't have things like Blizzard 2 buy time.
And there's that Death Grip you were saying earlier, the Death Grip Alexstrasza, and we can see that Tom does not have Alexstrasza in the hand, so if OmegaZero does opt to go for Death Grip next turn, I'd say it's pretty good odds of getting Alexstrasza from Tom's deck.
Yeah, and also just with that Death Coil, I just don't think he could lose. Just that 5 extra bit of healing is just so insane.
Yeah, every little bit of healing counts. And especially with the armor that OmegaZero has, and pressure that he has. He doesn't have much pressure, but it's enough to keep Tom on the back foot. Tom's not going to be able to take too much of that damage any longer, especially knowing that there are 3 unidentified Lich King cards from Tom's side. I mean, he could be staring down a lot of Lich King cards that, just kind of kill too.
Yeah, a lot of times when Lich King sticks, you are in a pretty bad spot, and that pretty much sums up this game. Just Lich King is living, things are tough, but Tom's going to stick with the game plan of just trying to push the face damage, hoping he finds another Mind Blast. But OmegaZero having options to heal is just going to be in a pretty safe situation. And let's see, can the Death Grip steal the Alex? He doesn't need to steal it.
I think it's one of the only minions left. Oh, no, there's a Gladius. I mean, that kind of helps Tom in a way, right? Helps Tom into the deck and try and find that
that Alex.
That Alexstrasza, but I mean, even if Alexstrasza gets fined, I don't think it's gonna be enough at this point. Ooh, 2 death coils. That's brutal.
I think is the turn that you probably tap out, or unless maybe you Psychic Stream and then hope to top deck Alex.
And even then, we can see that's just not going to be enough. And it looks like we're going to be going to a Game 5. But in this Game 5, it's going to be Tom60229 on the Recruit Warrior versus OmegaZero on this Big Spell Mage. And it appears that Big Spell Mage has been making a pretty big appearance in this tournament.
Yeah, it's looked pretty good so far. Just people are drawing Jaina, and the games that they do, they are winning. The games that they are not, they are losing, and just that is a very strong card. And the deck doesn't really work well when you don't find it.
Yeah, the deck doesn't really do what it can do when Jaina is not there. But this Dragon Carolina is going to go uncontested.
Yeah, she is thick right now. Just so many dragons coming out.
At like least 5. 1 million.
Yeah, yep. Nailed it.
You were 5. Bob, how did you... Oh, there's Alexstrasza. Unfortunately, that's about 7 turns too late.
Because it's just low risk, high reward. Nobody cares if you get it wrong. They just will be like, whoa, that was cool. You got it right. But...
Nobody cares if you get it wrong.
No, of course not.
I care, Bob. I care.
Well, I didn't even give you the opportunity because I just nailed it.
Yep. But that is going to be game number 4 going to OmegaZero. So they're going to hit the concede right about now.
I hope. I am ready for some sleep. But before I can sleep, I need to see the Game 5 Recruit Warrior from Tom60229 versus the Control Mage from OmegaZero. And OmegaZero just trying to go for that full sweep with Mage.
I mean, we've seen so many decks actually come to the point where they have actually been sweeping. I mean, we've Big Spell Mage sweep. We've seen, I mean, this would be a potential for Big Spell Mage to sweep, sorry. We've seen even Shaman sweep. We've seen Hunters basically sweep. There's been a lot of decks that feel like they've just been, you know, sweeping the field. And I wonder if that's just kind of the experimentation of these players, or is it just that, you know, these decks are that strong? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see whether it's the strength of the decks or the experimentation of these players. But last game is going to be that Recruit Warrior, I think, patented by Fibonacci, and was there another player that patented?
Yeah, Frozen.
Frozen as well.
Helping out running this tournament.
Who could forget?
And Fibonacci did do very well with it in prelims. He was able to get that top 8 finish. He was able to go 7-0 in the switch stage, but then unfortunately for him, lost to Killing All Day twice because, you know, they have Blizzard needs to figure out that you should have the 2-1-1 people play against each other. So then you don't have Dog play against Muzzy twice, and you don't have Fibonacci play Kill on a Day twice. But fortunately, that hasn't been figured out yet, especially for Fibonacci, because he was able to go 7-0. But it's going to be cool to see this Recruit Warrior deck in action some more.
Yeah, but that's a story for another day. But this Warrior going to keep gather your party in the opening hand. Tom60229 recognizes his, you know, essentially win condition. He's going to have to cheat one of these minions out and hope that off the back of this minion, it carries him to victory.
Yeah, and just already spooky just seeing one removal from the mage, and they are very likely to find more. Yeah, Voodoo Doll, Polymorph. Like, you can Dead Man's Hand the threats if you draw them naturally to shuffle in more, but that means you're not going very fast. And I feel like even if you shuffled in all your threats, Majors would have enough stuff in that situation to remove all of them. So this is definitely going to be a very uphill battle for Tom.
I agree. I think just based off the way the decks are built, Mage is just, you know, such a good matchup for this. I mean, there is a couple things that could go wrong for Omega's. Bottom deck the Frostlich Jaina, and then on top of that, you know, maybe there becomes one turn in which Tom60229 can stick a minion, and Tom just gonna go ahead and cast the Ironhide. Do you think that's why did he just cast Ironhide there?
He's getting it ready for Yip.
Oh, I see. Fitting in the hero powers just in case gather your party is Yip, and gonna even top deck the shield block.
You have to draw on this matchup. There's no way you could not draw and then fatigue. So yeah, I like shield block just coming out, and he will have armor if this gather your party does pull Yip.
I feel like Yip is one of the
Yip
best
into
ones.
Tyrantus. But then even with Yip into Tyrantus, they just Voodoo Doll the Tyrantus. But then the Yip gets to summon another minion, and then he needs to go Yip into Tyrantus twice, I think.
That's you know, there's only 5-10 drops. I mean, that's a possibility. It's not too far-fetched.
All right, so he's deciding to respect the counterspell here. Just clear out these minions. Doesn't want to take the chance that his turn just gets absolutely dunked by a counterspell.
Yeah, that could have been very bad from Tom's perspective if the counterspell was on that, because, you know, that could have been game ending. But 2 Voodoo Dolls picked up. Not even the Yip into Tyrannus would work. It'd have to be Yip into Tyrannus into Tyrannus.
OmegaZero is going to need to accidentally play Azalina to have trouble on this one, it seems. But is this Yip? Oh,
no, it's just
the Grom, and he's just going to get just 4 damage.
What if that was vaporized?
Oh, man. But being able to clear this out and then coin the Jaina if he wants to, or just continue to remove that threat. It's probably going to have to remove that Lich King. Just, it's so crazy that already just 7 turns in, looking at these hands, that I almost can't see a way that Tom wins from here, for real. Just having the removal for just the couple threats that they play makes it so tough. And
yeah,
unless someone does it for him, or if he misclicks really badly, don't think the Azalina will come out.
No, there's no real reason to play that Azalina and OmegaZero. To basically everything that Tom9 can play. I mean, Tom's just going to have to hope to, you know, play this Lich King, hope there's no removal. Not even going to play.
What?
Is Tom planning for a fatigue plan now?
I guess he's going to try. It's just not very realistic just because, you know. I feel like I don't even have to finish that. It's just not very realistic.
No, doesn't appear to be. And the coin Jaina comes out. I mean, do you think Tom just ever can, or do you think he tries to play it out?
I mean, a lot of times when you're playing live in a tournament, you try and play it out. But this is one that if I was on ladder, I'd be like, why did I have to get a control mage? And then I snap concede and be tilted.
You can't take a break from ladder for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Is it one of those games?
Sometimes it feels like you just always queue into the deck that beats you. Sometimes it feels truly rigged.
But Lich King is probably going to come down. Just going to be generating some value for OmegaZero, but OmegaZero really doesn't need value because the best hero powers in the game. Anti-magic shell as well. Oh my gosh, it's just not looking good for.
especially when they have Sindragosa. It's just like you can't stop them from making water Ellies. It's just not realistic.
No, I mean, the most Tom can do is probably just shield slam, hero power, keep passing. And that appears to be Tom60229's plan, is just going to go ahead and hero power and try and take the mage to fatigue, force the mage to play cards when they don't want to. I mean, Sindragosa is a little bit awkward, but I don't think OmegaZero is really worrying about burning too many cards.
I mean, there's just no rush to do it. A lot of times, if they're going to let a minion stick like this, you don't have to continue to develop into it. So I really like Ooze plus the Magic Shell. I don't think oozing Woe Cleaver is too important when you have this many removal options in your hand. So when you do that, it just demands a brawl because these guys can't be targeted. So I really would have liked to seen the Ooze come down. As I said, I just don't think you need it for the weapon, especially the weapon can't attack if there's water Ellie's freezing them. So why not get a 5/5 on board?
Do you think it's just a nod to playing the I'm sorry, do you think it's a nod to Brawl in a sense that it doesn't want to go for the 50-50? I just want to make sure that this water element is the only one alive.
And you know, the play ended up working out for the better because it would have got cleaned up by that Reckless Fury. Flurry, right? It's Flurry.
Flurry.
I always get that wrong.
Just gonna go ahead and play out the Dragon's Fury, get some cards out of the hand.
This is the dump turn, so you could ideally play Sindragosa and not overdraw. Which is usually a tall task.
Yeah, especially trying to get Sindragosa down when you don't have many cards in hand. It's kind of hard to do, but you see Tom there just, you know, bringing a weapon, making sure that those executes are alive, just in case some minion comes down that Tom can't exactly answer as efficiently, mostly just Sindragosa.
If Tom60229 wins this, he's the best player in the game. And some people would already argue he's the best player of the game because he won the world champion, but this one would just be unbelievable if he's able to.
This would make him the universal champion of the universes.
Because there's some good Hearthstone players out there in other universes, and this one would prove that he's the best.
In all the multiverses as well.
This is what our commentary has become after 8 hours of casting in the morning, starting at 2 a.m. for us. But we're sticking in there. Just to see.
Just to see if Tom sticks in there. Just to see
if
Tom... Oh my god, but there's really not much Tom can do in this matchup. Tom is literally just going to go for the 50 Oh my gosh, look at the mana cost of that hand. I mean, Tom was expecting just to hit a bunch of spells, but he actually hit almost every single minion of OmegaZero's deck.
Yeah, it's just... what do you do?
I mean, this is going to be a very long game, but I think at the end of the day, OmegaZero is going to take it ultimately. But, I mean, maybe not. Maybe we're missing some nuance to this matchup that Tom understands that we don't.
I mean, you could dead man's hand and try and fatigue him, but it's just not realistic just because you run out of resources and you don't draw fast enough. So even if you dead man's hand things like execute to deal with it, just you won't draw into the other answers quick enough. And having something like Sindragosa just make water Ellies off your own board is just so insane in this matchup. But I'm also just feeling Sindragosa into Sindragosa off one of the O1s.
Oh,
as just a slap in the face to stay in the game. Oh,
what about an Elise? What about another Azalina?
One is not enough.
What about a Toki Time Tinker into
Dr.
the
Boom.
other Elise?
And then make your whole deck random legendaries. All right, we get to see at least one of them here.
All right, what's in the box? I would love to see a Toki Time Tinker. Arthas.
That's a pretty good value option. Death Knight cards are pretty good. That's part of the reason why he just plays Lich King in his deck.
Arthas a little bit weaker than Lich King, of course, just because, you know, Lich King taunt It's an 8/8. It's a big bomb towards the end of the game. Arthas is just a 4-mana 2/2. Not much to say about that. Typical stat line for a 4-mana card is what, 4/5? That's typically the good stat line.
Yeah, just the basic vanilla stat line. So Arthas, you basically, if you play that card, it's just to get a Death Knight card.
Swamp King Dread.
Not bad.
That's a cool card.
It is the biggest minion you could get for 7 mana by quite a bit.
Yeah, now that I'm running the numbers in my head, you're right, Bob. Except for Baron Geddon. He begs to differ. He's smaller, but he's big.
He does more damage on the turn that he's played, most likely.
That is true. And Swamp King Dread looks cool. Played. Most likely.
Well,
Swamp King Dread has one of the coolest animations.
Yeah, especially whenever, you know, they play a minion and it just smacks it. That feels, you know, how about this pop quiz? If Swamp King Dread is frozen, does he attack minions while being played?
He does not. And the reason I know that is because I was actually playing someone on ladder, and Disguised Toast was spectating me to all his viewers, and I did not know about that interaction. And then Toast went easy lethal and messaged me, and I didn't see it. And I was playing OTK Mage, Quest Mage, and all I had to do was Frostbolt the minion first and then commit the Sorcerer's Apprentices against an Evolved Shaman, and I would have had lethal, but I did not see it. And now every person watching the Titanar stream now knows that Dr. J is bad with Quest Mage.
You disappointed Disguised Toast.
I also did that, and I did not want to, because now, I mean, how can I ever be seen in Disguised Toast stream again?
You say hi, and they're just all like, leave. We saw that Miss Lethal.
But I didn't know the interaction at the time. I didn't realize that. That's something important to note is the interactions, because, you know, they can be lifesavers at times.
Yeah, some of them are intuitive, some of them aren't. Just important to know for one of those just weird situations where sometimes they're just crucial.
So this is a weird question. Why play one Forge of the Souls but not the other?
Arcane Keysmith counterspell.
Okay. Sold.
Sure.
Sounds good to me.
Spitballing.
Maybe just, I have no clue. I liked it though. It sounded good.
So I think Tom is going for that strategy where he's going to try and collect his minions and then Dead Man's hand them back into the deck and then hope that he could just stick one of them after jamming a lot. But it's going to be a really tough thing to do just because any minion that he plays to dump out of his hand just will be a Water Alley on the board. And we already see that Warrior just has the only removal it has left is just that Execute. And he can't really play these minions to attack on board just because then he loses out on a lot of value from Dead Man's hand. So then he's just stuck in a really weird position that he doesn't want to play a minion. He doesn't want to gather your party. He doesn't want to Will Cleaver. What do you want to do with this game plan, Tom? What do you want to do?
What does Tom want to do? Bob, what would you do? Because I don't know what I would do. I would do whatever, Bob.
Sleep.
I mean, maybe Rockface.
And then I would realize that I just conceded in a tournament for 30K in prize pool, and then I'd just be like, that was a little questionable.
30K prize pool. That was a little questionable. Bloodless Ooze putting in some work. I mean, this Swamp King Dread, it's pretty intimidating. You thought Tyrantus or Ultra Kings of the Prehistoric Age? No. You look at Swamp King Dread. Swamp King Dread looks like a 12. Tyrantus doesn't. Swamp King Dread looks like the 12.
Man, he didn't need to dump a card, right? 1, 2. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't need to necessarily dump that Blizzard, but just getting it out now because he doesn't think he'll use it in a later turn, but wasn't forced to do it.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, this is going to be the stage of the game where Tom's goal is to just fatigue OmegaZero at this point, I guess. The weirdest part about that is OmegaZero, the hand appears to be dead, can just Aslina Soul Thief.
Yeah. And deciding to play his own Acolyte and kill it with the Voodoo Doll to dump minions while also not drawing at the same time. It is pretty important not to draw in this matchup, so OmegaZero realizing that and drawing 0 cards with his Acolyte.
Thinking about committing the Arfice or not, but if he commits the Arfice, that Tom can potentially swing into the Arfice and use the weapon to clear off the Water Elemental, so good spot on OmegaZero. Backpedaling for a second. This Rotface, though, maybe, what could Rotface find?
I think that's all the rest of the minions, right? Is that all in deck? Because we've seen Grom.
We've seen Grom. Going to the deck lists right now. We've seen Grom, Rotface, Ysera, Lich King, Geosculptor, Yip. And, yep, that is literally all the minions.
All right, so now he's looking for the Dead Man's Hand, and then he could start playing them. But when he does start playing them, they're going to get answered by things like Polymorph and Voodoo Doll, so then it's going to be tough on board to fight back. And are we... No, this is not frozen. Tom is just thinking, and he is very still. It's been a couple times where the stream is froze, but turns out this is not one of them.
No, the rope is burning. Tom is thinking about what he wants to do. Just opting to go for the Hero Power Pass.
I thought maybe for a second, because you asked me what would you do if I was Tom, and I said just concede and quit, and I thought he just skipped a step and just started sleeping.
He went straight from the concede to sleep. I mean, that seems like the most optimal line of play. Some might say this game is Resident Sleeper.
Wow. All right, and Warpath going to be used to just clear these minions. And we have seen Tom be pretty consistent with that fatigue strategy as soon as he gathered your party into Grom. Then he tried to switch plans once he realized that OmegaZero probably had the right resources.
I mean, they're both getting low on cards in the deck. Maybe there is a way Tom back and eventually get there. The one thing that we can see that Tom actually doesn't have a great answer to is actually Dragon Collar Alana. Tom does not have a great way to answer that without bear in mind just the idea of using the weapon to kill the Dragon Collar Alana herself, and then using the Hero Power to clean up the 2 5/5s around it while leaving like 3 or 4 5/5s after that.
I mean, part of the problem is exactly what you said, is that if at any point things start looking sketchy for OmegaZero, he could just play that Alana. Is that the name of the card?
Yeah, Dragon Collar Alana.
No, I meant Azalina.
Oh, Azalina, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, the Mirror Entity is actually going to give OmegaZero... It would typically give OmegaZero a minion, but now it's just going to give... there's the Tyrannus.
But 0 mana Voodoo Doll turns out is pretty good against that.
Not the 0 mana Voodoo Doll. Oh, buddy, Tyrannus, what are you doing? You're supposed to be the savior. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and even meteor the Geosculptor. Yep. But Tom? Huh.
What? Is he really not gonna kill it? There's only a couple minions left that you have to kill. So yeah, and this is the problem. Now Warrior's going to be in the position where like they have to use the second brawl, and as soon as that second brawl comes down, you just play the Dragon Collar Alana. So that's him yelling, I'm almost out of cards. He finds the Dead Man's Hand. I'm going to try and decide, can he afford to draw that last card naturally, but ultimately decides that he just has to shuffle those cards in now. So
you're going to really hope that the 1/1's last one living. Oh, and unfortunately it's not, but you know, not the worst case scenario. Is either Well, I'm not sure the one I think are the better ones. Just, yep, living is not honestly the greatest thing to ever happen.
So, you know, it's like a 1-6 or a 1-7 for him to find that brawl off the top. So, with that being the case, I feel like it's pretty reasonable to go for that Dragon Color Alana just because it just will kill him.
I'm trying to think of what other combo that OmegaZero playing around by holding on to the Dragon Color.
I mean, doesn't have any more ways to gain armor and Reckless Fury, because I'm pretty sure that Reckless Fury was the last card in his deck that he decided to not draw, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I mean, they could be the potential Sarah too. Sarah Awakens going for the Rot Face. What's in the box? Gonna need to be something good here.
Second Rot Face. No. The new Mage Legendary is not what you're looking for. This guy adds an extra copy of a minion when you draw it, but it's a static effect that means it's just not going to be on the board because it will die this turn.
Yeah, the Meteor is going to come out, clear the board, and the face is still going to be frozen. Death Coil picked up from the Arphis. I mean, Lich King can come down, but I mean, maybe Tom was just holding on to those to gather your party and the Forge of Souls just to kind of bluff a shield block and a Reckless Fury combination of cards hit those left of the deck. This is just getting out of control, but the Doom Pack picked up. I still don't think that's enough.
And this is looking like it's going to be the reverse sweep with the Control Mage, you know. The other two decks that OmegaZero brought were a little out there, and we were saying if there was one person to get 3-0'd, wouldn't be too surprised it being the case. But with his last deck being Control Mage, he was really able to bounce back and just find the good matchups and just fight.
Fight.
Fighting is important.
Trying to see if OmegaZero has lethal through this. There's Death Coil, 7 on the follow-up. There's Blizzard, Death Coil Ping, that's one off, is Flame Strike. Death Coil Ping, yep, Flame Strike, Death Coil Ping.
Wait, no.
Oh wait, that's not enough mana.
It's not mana.
I'm making plays that don't even exist. Bob and I were both on that line of play. It seemed like the best line of play.
It seemed pretty smart. All right, now you jam the Azalina for fun.
Oh, see, he sees it too.
Just point it out. All right, so putting him to 1, he has just the shield block and the Death Coil to try and get back up. Can't really do impact without just losing on the spot to fatigue.
Yeah, you could go up by 5 health. I mean, literally, just Sarah would have to go Doom Pact and then heal up. That's literally the only thing that can happen. I mean, with all those cards gone, Dragon Color Alana is safe to board.
And this went exactly how we expected it to. Just Control Mage seemed like the just absolutely heavily favorite in this matchup, as long as you just draw maybe just 2 pieces of removal for those early threats from Warriors. So OmegaZero was able to do that. Tom tried to go on the fatigue strategy, but ultimately just wasn't going to work. And that was the reverse sweep with the Control Mage. Exciting to see.
OmegaZero is just ready for another game. He hasn't even taken his headphones off. He's just, he said, put me in, coach.
Does he know that he won?